Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
And we're about to turn the page on what's been a pretty wild year for the Mets. Some highs, definitely some lows, but the story isn't over yet. There's still plenty happening behind the scenes that Mets fans need to know about, and I'm going to break it all down for you right now. So Eduardo Perez, the Mets vice president of operations, just did an interview with Johnny Trujillo on Spanish radio, and he actually gave us some insight into what the team is planning. They're looking for 2 starting pitchers, 2 outfielders, and they want to reinforce all positions. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like typical front office speak, right? But he specifically said they're actively looking to add another outfielder. That tells me moves are coming, even if it feels quiet right now. Here's the thing that Mets fans need to understand. Everyone's freaking out because we've lost some core players, people who've been here for years. But the reality is this has been a weird offseason for the entire league. Nobody's getting these massive long-term deals right now. You've got Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger potentially having to settle for high annual value deals over just 3 years instead of the long-term contracts they probably wanted. That's how the market is operating right now. There's a potential lockout coming next year, a new CBA to negotiate, and economic uncertainty everywhere. Teams are being cautious with long-term commitments, and you can't really blame them. Yeah, these owners are billionaires, but they don't know what the baseball landscape is going to look like in 2 or 3 years. So everyone's playing it safe, which means the market is moving slower than usual. But don't panic yet. If it's March 1st and the Mets haven't done anything, then you can lose your mind. Right now, there are still so many quality players available that it doesn't make sense to worry. The Mets are working, they're actively looking, and moves are going to happen. Some of those moves might come via trade, and we need to talk about a couple names from Miami. Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara are both potentially available from the Marlins, and the Mets should at least be exploring these options. Let's start with Cabrera. He's 27 years old, under contract for 3 more years through arbitration. He had 26 starts last season with a 3.53 ERA and threw a career-high 137 innings. On paper, that sounds decent, right? But I'm going to be honest with you. Edward Cabrera does not excite me at all. The Mets need an innings eater. They need someone who can consistently give you 200 innings and anchor your rotation. Cabrera has never thrown more than 137 innings in his career. He's had injury concerns, and while he's got potential, he represents uncertainty. The Mets don't need more question marks in their rotation. They need reliability, and Cabrera isn't that guy. Plus, you know the Marlins are going to ask for significant prospects in return, and I just don't think he's worth it. Sandy Alcantara is a completely different story. This is a guy who's actually done it at the highest level. We're talking about someone who threw 174, 184, 228, 205, and 197 innings in consecutive seasons before his injury. This is a legitimate workhorse, a bulldog on the mound who knows how to eat innings and give your team a chance to win every 5th day. Now, Alcantara's had a rough couple years. He missed all of 2024 and wasn't great in 2025. But he picked it up in the second half last season, and more importantly, he's shown he has that ability to be an ace. He's only 30 years old, which means he's still got quality years ahead of him if he can stay healthy. Here's where it gets interesting from a Mets perspective. Alcantara has $17.3 million owed to him in 2026, plus a club option for $21 million in 2027 with a $2 million buyout. The Marlins want to shed payroll. That's basically their entire organizational philosophy at this point. So if the Mets are willing to eat that money, they might be able to get Alcantara without giving up as much in prospects. That's a gamble I'd be willing to take. You're either getting a 1-year rental or potentially 2 years if you pick up that option. For a team that needs starting pitching in innings, Sandy Alcantara makes way more sense than Edward Cabrera. Yeah, there's wear and tear on that arm after 8 years in the big leagues, but when he's right, this is a guy who can give you 200 innings. That's exactly what the Mets need. Now let's talk about Jeremy Pena at first base, because I know this is driving people crazy. There was video of him doing first base drills yesterday, and predictably everyone lost their minds. People are screaming about how they hate the idea of Pena at first base, how this goes against everything David Stearns said about run prevention and defense. But here's what nobody wants to admit. Players move positions all the time and succeed. Wilson Contreras moved from catcher to first base and became one of the elite defensive first basemen in the league. It happens. People develop skills at new positions, especially when they're athletic and motivated to prove themselves. And let's be real about something else. The bar is pretty low here. I know Pete Alonso has his defenders, and yeah, he could scoop a baseball well. But outside of that, he was not a good defensive first baseman. I don't care what anyone says. Pete was a below-average defender at the position, so it's not like the Mets are downgrading from some Gold Glove level player. Pena is agile, he's athletic, and there's a legitimate chance this works out. Could he actually be better defensively at first base than Pete was? Absolutely. But I still think the Mets need to add another first base option. You can't go into the season with Pena as your only answer at the position. Bring in competition, give yourself options, and let the best player win the job. Look, I know everyone's angry right now. I know people are mad at Stearns, mad about losing players, mad that big moves haven't happened yet, but you need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The Mets have a top 5 farm system in baseball, according to pretty much every major publication and scout. That's not us being homers. That's reality. If the Mets have that level of talent in the minor leagues, some of these guys are going to pan out, whether it's Drew Gilbert, Jet Williams, Ronnie Mauricio when he's healthy, or someone else we're not even thinking about yet. The Mets are building something sustainable here, and that takes time. Your favorite players, Alonso, Nimmo, McNeil, they all came from within the system. That's how this works. You can't just buy every superstar on the market. You need homegrown talent mixed with smart veteran additions. Stearns understands that, and he's building the organization the right way. And speaking of Jeff McNeil, can we please stop acting like Francisco Lindor committed some unforgivable sin by having an issue with him? McNeil's been cooked for 2 years now. His career with the Mets is basically over. Why are we still defending him and using him as a reason to criticize Lindor? It makes no sense. McNeil was great 3 or 4 years ago. He's not good anymore. It's time to move on. The market is still wide open. Quality players are still available. The Mets are actively shopping and looking to improve. David Stearns is playing this smart by not overpaying early and letting the market come to him. That's how you get value deals. That's how you build a sustainable winner. So enjoy your New Year's Eve. Don't stress about the Mets right now. Moves are coming. Starting pitching will be addressed. The outfield will get reinforced. First base will have a solution. Everything's going to work out, but it's going to happen on Stearns' timeline, not on the timeline that angry fans on social media want. The Mets are in a good position. They've got payroll flexibility, they've got prospects to trade, and they've got a front office that knows what they're doing. 2026 is going to be a good year, and it starts with trusting the process and letting things play out. The pieces will fall into place. Just be patient and trust that the people making decisions know more about building a baseball team than we do sitting at home watching YouTube videos. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's make 2026 the year this all comes together.